Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to this role-based interview questions. So let me share my screen and share what is today's role, which we are going to discuss. So today we are going to discuss ServiceNow ITSM functional consultant, or you can say process consultant interview questions. So let's start with the very first question. Who is a ServiceNow ITSM functional consultant? So you should know what this role is all about, right? So let's discuss. So basically in this role, you have to focus on processes, not the deep coding. Okay. Here you have to talk to business and understand how incident, problem, change, request work together in the real life, means with respect to the organization. Then you design how these processes should run inside ServiceNow ITSM for this particular company, for this particular organization. Okay. Finally, you act as a bridge between business people and the technical people like developer and admins. Okay. So this is in core all about this ITSM functional consultant role. Next question is, how do you gather requirement for ServiceNow ITSM implementation? Yes, this question is must and you have to be very thorough in this. Okay. So basically, let me tell you a few points. So first of all, you have to understand the current or is as process. Okay. How the work is done at present today. Okay. Then you run the workshop or interviews with the stakeholders, service tax agent and managers and capture their views. Okay. You capture the roles, the steps, the pain points, okay, and the exceptions in simple notes or diagrams. And then after all this analysis, you define the future or to be processed and convert these things into stories, basically the user stories. Okay. So before you start designing, you always, try to review everything with the business team and then confirm it and then go for it. So this is the complete, or you can say the way to gather the requirement for any ITSM implementation. This is all about question number 2. Let's move to question number 3. So before we go to question number 3, let me show you something. So ladies and gentlemen, in my channel ServiceNow 911 in English and ServiceNow Helpdesk Hindi, I have opened the membership. And if you want to learn ServiceNow from scratch, like what is ServiceNow to become a ServiceNow Pro, everything related to coding, configuration, everything, I am going to explain in this membership program. After that, you can go through my course, which is there in Udemy. Okay. Total, there are, around 3,500 people who have already benefited by these courses of discoveries. And you can see the reviews as well. Okay. The courses are in both English and Hindi. So if you want to explore this, you can join. And if you want to learn from scratch, you can join the membership. I am guaranteeing you, you will not get disappointed. Thank you so much. Let's move to the question number 3. So the question number 3 is, how do you balance ITL best practices with real customer requirements? Yes, you are a functional consultant, so you have to be in touch with customers and you have to take care of all these things. Okay, so this is one of the good questions. So basically your answer should be very simple, like you use ITL as a guide here, okay, not a strict playbook or rule book. Okay, so first of all, you understand why the customer is currently working in a certain way, because they must have their ways to working, so you have to understand their way. Okay, then you suggest something which is ITL aligned improvement if there are any. Okay, so that they will fix their real problems. Okay, if you need to move away from ITL in some places, it is fine. Okay, you do it consciously and you have to document the reason why you are doing so. Okay, so after all this, okay, finally your goal should be to design a process that people actually follow. This is the main motto. People follow, business runs. Okay, not just a process which is just related to theory and it is on paper and nobody is following it. So in this way, you will be able to better correlate with the customers and give them more ITIL specific things. Let's move to the next question. Explain incident versus problem in ITSM. So this is one of the common questions. So I thought let's include this in this particular question as, okay. So basically, you treat an incident as an unplanned issue, okay, like email is not working or VPN is down. And on the contrary, you treat problem as a deeper root cause behind one or more incidents. So for incidents, your goal is to restore the services as soon as possible. Okay, even with the temporary workaround, it is fine. But for problems, your goal must be to find the real root cause and fix it permanently. Okay. So this is the core difference between these two things. So when it comes to ServiceNow, we have two different modules for incident and problem. Okay. And you have to link them together while you giving your example. So this is how you present this question. Very important. Let's move to question number 5. How do you design incident categorization and prioritization in ServiceNow? Yes, basically, we are ITSM or process consultant. So these designing things are always there in the questions. Okay, so in this case, you can simply say like you keep the incident category simple and clear. Okay, this is the first thing. Why? Because once you do that, agents can choose them in a very, very few seconds. They can understand it properly. So with simplicity and clarity, the category must, based on real common issue and services. Okay, not just a theory. So this combination should be there. Okay. Then obviously the priority is based on impact and urgency. Impact here is how many people are affected, and urgency is how fast it is needed to resolve. Okay, so with this you create a clear priority matrix for P1, P2, and P3, and then you have to provide certain good examples. So make sure you have good examples. And once you are done with all this discussion, once you are ready with that, then you can implement this impact, urgency, and priority metrics and logic in ServiceNow. And then you can test it thoroughly with sample tickets. So with all this, you can design such incident categorization and prioritization. Let's move to the sixth question. How do you configure and manage SLAs in ITSM ServiceNow? So first of all, you need to get in agreement with business on the response and resolution times for each type of priority. And then you can check whether the support is available 24/7 or not. Okay. Or only in business hour, and note this, all these things. So once you have that data with you, you can decide further which conditions should trigger a particular SLA. Okay. Like priority, service, support, and all these things. So once you are done with the trigger condition, then you can configure SLA definitions and schedules inside ServiceNow according to all these definitions, according to all these rules. Okay, and then you can test it properly. So this is the complete way to configure and manage SLAs. Let's move to the question number 7. What is your role with CMDB in ITSM implementation? Okay, so being a functional consultant, obviously you usually don't write discovery script by yourself. Okay, it's not your job, but you define how the CMDB will be used inside the problem, incident, and change processes. This is your job here. Okay, you are in charge of these processes, not the CMDB there. So you should know how, when, and where the CMDB to be used, and what benefit it is getting, or what benefit it is there for these processes. Okay, with respect to CMDB. And then again, one more thing you can do, you can decide which CIs and business services users should select on the tickets. Okay. So based on criticality of the CIs, based on criticality of the business, you can select such CIs and services. One more thing which you have to take care is you work with CMDB or item teams to make sure the data and the structure support your processes. Okay. It is not like they have a different data and you are not able to use that data efficiently inside your processes. If it is like that, then there will be no benefit. So you have to work in that context. Okay. And finally, you make sure that the CMDB actually help in the impact analysis. Yes, that's what I was talking in the last point. Okay. Impact analysis, approvals, reporting, and okay, all these things should be very well proven with the data of the CMDB, with the use of CMDB. It's not just a static list which you have and which you can use. So you have to make sure all these things and provide your answer properly. How do you design change types and workflows in ServiceNow? Because you are an ITSM consultant, then change management is one of the good area where you can get standard questions. Okay. So in this type of questions, normally you define 3 key change types like standard, normal, and emergency types. Okay. So basically a standard change is like low risk, repeatable, and pre-approved activities, like adding user to the group or making some changes there. Okay. Then we have a normal change, which acted as a regular change that need full assessment and CAB approval. So you have to make sure you know this. You should have good example with you, okay? And then finally, you treat emergency change as an urgent change that must be done quickly and reviewed later. So this is, kind of the way you have to explain with examples. And finally, for each type of change, you design different steps and approvals and then configure them within the ServiceNow workflow. Next question, how do you ensure user actually adopt the new ITSM processes in ServiceNow? Okay. So to answer this question, you keep forms and the processes as simple as possible, okay, and avoid unnecessary details or unnecessary fields from the form. You make sure to involve service techs and key users while designing and while doing testing, basically in UAT. So you cannot do everything by yourself. You must be dependent on these people to do thorough testing and then provide you the result, and as well as being a part of your designing process as well. Okay. After that, you provide training sessions, short guides, and knowledge articles at the go live. So after go live, you monitor how the users are working in the system. You keep a good eye on that, and then collect the feedback from the users. This is also very good thing, okay, after go live. Okay, then finally, when you see when a user is struggling, you either simplify the configuration, look at the process one more time, and see whether you can improve it by user training or you need to make change in the process. So all these things should be done by you to make sure new people in ITSM support ServiceNow. Then the last question for today is, how do you work with ServiceNow developer as functional consultant? Very interesting. Okay. So you are a functional consultant. Obviously, somehow or anyhow, you have to work with the developers as well. Okay. So how you can complement a developer? The question should be like this. Okay. So basically, being a functional consultant, you can write clear user stories. Okay. That say what is needed, why it is needed, and when it is considered done. All these things should be clearly mentioned in the story. Then you can provide the process context, okay, not just a technical instruction to the developer, so that the developer can also contribute somewhere. It's not just adding a field, why you are adding that field, what is the context behind that. So you have to define like this, so that the story will be complete there. Okay. As well as you get in touch with the developers on regular times and need to listen developers technical suggestions, and obviously respect the platform limitations as well, because it's not like always whatever you are suggesting is possible there, but there are ways to do that. Okay, so you have to understand all these technical difficulties and come up with a win-win situation at both ends. Okay, and then you can get in touch with the developers, you can review the early demos, and give the specific feedbacks instead of doing everything in the last minute, asking them to change, asking developer to make changes in the last minute. It is good practice to do all these things a bit advanced, okay, so that developer has time to make changes. Okay. So finally, in the end, you can check whatever is built in ServiceNow is as per your process, okay, is as per the business expectation which you have asked the developer to do. If not, you can make some tweaks there, but you have to make sure all these things and work with the developer to make sure complete transition, complete requirement, should be satisfied there. So ladies and gentlemen, these are the questions for ITSM functional consultant in ServiceNow. I hope you liked it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And if you or someone you know want to learn ServiceNow from scratch, we have the option both for membership in English and Hindi. Okay, you can take our discovery course as well from Udemy. Thank you so much. See you soon.